Greetings, my name is Sam Hendrick and welcome to this Whole Earth Wisdom video on Back to Nature series. What we're going to talk about today is starting an outdoor fire. Today is a comfortable negative 15 degrees out, sun shining brightly. Doesn't make a difference, it's really cold out here. If you're caught out in the wild at negative 15 degrees, your lifespan can be shortened greatly unless you know how to read nature and to flow with nature. So that's what we're going to work on this video. Not so much the survival aspects of it, but understanding how to read nature and to work with it and make it used to our advantage. And I brought my thermometer out here and clock just so you can see the actual temperature. Let me just pull it up. I get behind it. So it says it's only 11 out here now, so it's warmed up since I've been out here. Let's see if I can pull that in. It's right there. Negative 11. Yep, it's 1:10 p.m. So that's what the temperature is out here today. So when you're out in the wild, in nature, you don't want to be out here in the open woods. You want to confine yourself more back towards the thicker evergreen trees. Hopefully you got some where you're at. The temperature there will actually be warmer, and I'm going to show it to you on my thermometer. That's why I brought it along. Because the needles actually hold the air in, the temperature is naturally more warmer in that spot. Another aspect to look for is a swamp area. Where water is, they'll actually be warmer. And the way to detect a swamp is by knowing your trees. Here in the North Country, you got cedar trees that work great as a symbol of saying that's where water is. Cedars mostly grow around swamps and water and springs. Why is it warmer there? The water is always evaporating up. The groundwater is always 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So in a swamp area, the moisture coming out of the ground actually keeps it up a little bit warmer than out here in the open trees. So we're going to take a trek off into the woods and show you how to make a fire without a lot of stuff. Now, before I go off on that, if you're going to go for a day hike out in the woods and you want to make sure you're safe, now always bring yourself, like I do it all the time, a little sandwich bag. As you see, it's pretty well used. I got stick matches, I have a lighter in there, and book matches. I got all three of them. And I always carry a bunch of them. One thing you gotta look out for is get rid of that egotistical attitude like, I only need one match to start a fire. Yeah, well, Mother Nature will play different rules. She plays by different games, and she doesn't care about your ego. So when you're out, dress warm. I literally have 5 layers of clothes on right now. Carry your matches. Another good thing to do is carry another bag with newspaper and paper towels in it. Just crumple them up, put in your pocket. They're extremely light, and they'll save you in the long run when you're out in the wild. If you get turned around, who knows, you might break an ankle out snowshoeing. It's very easy to do. I mean, you're out snowshoeing, you twist your ankle. Next thing you know, you're on the ground, in pain, stuck in the woods, having to limp out. It's not a fun situation. So, your clothing, make sure you wear enough clothing. It doesn't have to be name brand. Mother Nature doesn't care about name brands. If it ain't warm, you're gonna know it real quick. So, let's get off into making some fire as we trek off into the thick of the woods. Now, as we're out here in the deeper forest, got into the evergreens, and you notice they're still spaced quite far apart. But the main thing to look at is the amount of fire tinder we have available to us. We have all bunch of type of trees that have felled over here and way out as far as you can see. Now the temperature here isn't much different than when we were out in the field. So we still have to look for more compact woods so to start our fire and to shield us from the wind. But right now we can gather up tinder for our fire. Now when you're out in the woods, you want to start a fire. You don't dig down in the snow and find grass and try to burn it, because that grass has absorbed water and it's frozen and doesn't burn very well. What we want to work with is what we call standing tinder, and that is anything that's not touching the ground. These branches coming down are good. These dead branches hanging down are good. The branches standing up off the tree are good. We can start a very warm fire with these simple little twigs and sticks. So even though we haven't got to the area where we want to be, we now have an area full and rich with the fuel that we need to stay warm with for the night. So I'm going to start gathering some wood to start the fire with, and then we'll trek on to the next adventure out here in the woods. And oh, just to show you how much it hasn't warmed up. I warmed up a little bit. All right. As you see, it's a -8 now, so it's 4 degrees warmer here than out in the field. Get my feet straightened out here. Snowshoes can trip you up pretty good if you're not careful. And when you're transversing through the woods, you come into an area like this, you really have to be careful not to mess yourself up. But get out here, just simply snapping off branches. Simple little tinder like this can save your life out here. First well below zero. And Mother Nature will only separate the weak from the strong. So be strong, be smart, be wise, and let's go find some thicker woods, see the temperature difference, and it'll shield us from the wind. As you can see, the wind can blow right through here pretty quick. So we're actually going to go off to a section of woods that's incredibly thick with branches and trees, and you'll notice the temperature differences. Alright, as we're looking at the forest here, what we're doing is we're actually going to read the forest. And what I mean by reading the forest is same thing as learning to read a book. You got to learn to read the forest. So as we're looking across here, we have this tree here, nice lot of tinder branches. They're all dead, they're all dry. It's good for starting fire and keeping it going. Over off in the distance, we have a lot of thick clump, small, short trees. They're about 4 or 5 feet high. And then right beside it, we got a really good clump of very thick trees where we're headed towards. But on our way, we have a lot of down timber, so we have to read the ground. We just can't strike off and go straight to it, because the snowshoes will get caught up in the branches and stuff, make travel hard. So we have to cut through here. We'll break off these branches, utilize them for our fire, and we'll strike out. We'll head over into thicker trees where less wind is, and get looking at the temperature in the thicker woods. Here we are over in a little thick dark area of woods here that we just pointed out, and as you notice, the trees are tightly together. There's a windbreak out here. Yeah, I got my gloves off because I need to adjust some things. We have a dead stump here. That wouldn't be good for burning because it's all soaking wet and there's frost in it and cold and ice. But as we pan around into our little area, we have this tree that has felled over right here. And number one, that allows us to have a windbreak. And number two, it really allows us to have some serious amount of tinder available for us for the rest of the night so we can burn. So this is an ideal spot picked out to start a fire in. Now, as we look at the temperature, you can see it's -6 out here. So it's 6 degrees warmer here, and there's no wind compared to out there. That's going to save you a lot in the long run. Let me just get out here. Now, yeah, it's snowing out. Wee. Anyways, all this tinder is great for starting fire. We'll get right into fire making right here. We'll make a small fire here, then we'll go over and check the swamp area. We'll check the air differences that we have over there. But this is an ideal spot if you're out in the woods to find and you want to make camp here for the night. We have thick trees. We got a wind block with a dead tree with plenty of tinder on it. Behind that is a bunch of trees anywhere from 1 foot to 5 feet, and they're so close together they don't allow the wind to come through here. So we could actually set up a bed here and a small fire and keep ourselves warm right through the night. So let's get on to doing that. What I'm doing here is I'm clearing the area where I want to build the fire. I'm actually using my snowshoe as a shovel. As you see, there's plenty of branches on the ground. Another thing while you're doing this, while you're here, is take the snow off the trees above you, because when you get your fire going, that stuff will put your fire out. You got plenty of dead trees here. There. Take the trees around you. Make sure your area is clear. Start a fire. Plenty of branches in here. As I'm digging down, I'm finding ice, and lots of it. It tells me there's a depression here and the water has settled, and this would not be a good place to build a fire. So we continue to dig. See the where is a good place. And the closer I get to this big tree, the more grounded I'm finding. So what we're going to do, continue to dig. And I'll bring the camera over here and I'll show you what I mean. All my tinder I pile up in one area for future use. Now this one has got frost all over it, that pulled out of snow is not going to be any good. Moisture has gotten into it, it's close to the ground. Frost got into it by the moisture. So it takes a while to prepare your area, but the more prepared your area is, the longer your fire is going to burn and the more efficient it's going to be. Yeah, don't let the tree kick your ass. Alright, now right over here, we actually have ground. Actually have a nice big piece of bark. That's great for starting our fire on. And we actually have ground and tinder. Another thing you can use the bark as a shovel, scrape, and shovel the snow out. It will break, but alright, so I'm going to clean this out a little more, bring the camera over here, show you the ground, and then we'll start working on building the fire and get some heat going. So here we have the ice, and as we work over towards the stump, we actually get into some dirt and some bark and stuff. So this is where we're actually going to build the fire. Building it here, the fire will start going, the ice will start melting, and it'll put our fire out. So what we've done, we've banked up the snow. That'll help shield the wind out when we start our fire. So there's a lot of natural elements we have to use here to get the fire going. So let's get right into making of the fire. Now here we have our cleared spot for where I want to start the fire. I do have this ice below my feet. Now I can kneel on the ice if I want to, or better yet, I can lay down my snowshoes and I can kneel upon my snowshoes to start the fire. There's a lot of snow and stuff on the ground. What we use is the tree bark that was naturally there. Read your environment and use what it gives you. So we can start our fire right on that bark. Now never in the wintertime use bark to try to start a fire. What it does, it absorbs the moisture of the rain, and the rain stays inside the bark and freezes and doesn't come back out. So if I try starting this bark on fire, I would severely waste my time. That's why we use standing timber, such as these little sticks. This is how we want to start a fire. And we'll stick them right there on the branches. Take your gloves off. Yeah, it's below zero, but you'll get used to it. So, by gathering the sticks, we start with the smallest sticks and we gather them. This is what we're going to use to start our fire with. Not the big sticks. We don't need gasoline. We don't need chainsaws. Oh, we don't need axes. All you need is a handful of small sticks. Break off some little bigger sticks in there. And put your bigger sticks off to the side. Now when I was digging this out, I kept putting my trees and branches into one pile. Economy of time is of nature out here. So all we're doing is taking off the small branches. And we're making a handful of them. A full handful. Anything bigger than that, we just stick off to the side. And we put them down there. And yet, we go grab more that we snapped off from the trees. Just the little thin ones. You can see how thin they are. They just snap off easily in your fingers. So we're going to make a bunch of tinder from these little branches. You can do a bunch at a time if you wish. And we get in here. I don't know if you can hear Mr. Woodpecker in the background chirping. Bigger sticks stick off the side. Now we got ourselves a nice little bundle here of smaller sticks. We're getting there. We actually really want about 2-3 handfuls of these sticks. So I'm going to shut the camera off while I get more. I don't want to bore you with my jabbering. And we'll work at making fire. Alright, so here we have the small tinder that we have gathered to start our fire with. We have a slightly bigger tinder that we've gathered, and the bigger sticks over here. Plus we have some needled brush, and plus we have this dead tree here. All of which we'll utilize the burning of our fire. Now, this is whole earth wisdom. So this isn't just about fire making. This is about the self and how we relate to the world and how man and nature can combine their knowledge. So, likewise in life, when you strike out in life, like striking out into the woods, you should go prepared. Thus, you always bring your matches. Like in life, you bring your knowledge. So, when we're building our fire, we do not use all of our tinder at once. We set some off to the side. Set it right there. We only utilize what we need. Such as in life, you don't put 100% of everything you got into one thing. You only use what you need to use to accomplish the goal. And when we do this, when we lay our sticks down, we lay them parallel, or mostly parallel, to each other, all in the same direction. We don't cross combine them and stick them all over the place. All the sticks are laid parallel to each other. It helps with the burning, and we don't compress it. We leave air in there. That air allows the fire to flow better. Too much weight and your fire will never start because it needs that airflow to benefit itself. So let's get right into starting the fire. And it's not one of those ego things. Doesn't matter how many matches it takes to start the fire, as long as you get it started. I know I hear a lot of people all the time growing up and everything like, oh, you should only take one match to start a fire to be a real man. And some people think all they need is one match. So they get out here in the woods, they strike the match, it doesn't burn. They're screwed. Forget your ego. Keep yourself warm, keep yourself alive. So, I like these wooden stick matches better than the book matches. You can also get lighters, but the problem is a lighter, you drop it in the snow. It has a hard time lighting afterwards. These, I can stick in the snow, brush them off, and the top just comes off. Yay! Let's try that one again. Let's stick in the snow. See, start right up. You put it right underneath the fire, you make a nice little cove, kind of house it, and don't worry about getting burned. You won't get burned. If you do, you're not in control. Fire is all about being in control of yourself. A little bit of spark there. And it went out. Yay! This is what happens when it's sub-zero temperatures and you're trying to start a fire out in the woods. It doesn't like to start all the time. Now I have my paper with me. We can use the paper. But I'm just showing here for demonstrations that you can also start a fire using just sticks and matches, as long as they're small, thin sticks. There we go. Little breath. You just keep blowing. Now I've used the wet bark as the source of starting my fire on. And we just continue trying it until we get to the point the fire actually takes hold. You notice the sticks in this new pile aren't laying 100% correct. Keep nurturing your fire. Start your matches as close as possible. Come on. Some matches like to burn, some don't. There we go. So what I'm doing, I'm breathing right in here where the bark and the wood stick together, so my breath is going straight underneath the fire. And don't breathe in while you're... Ah! Yeah. I believe in filming in real time so you see my mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm just godlike. Anyways, you're getting to understand that fire is not to be feared. You're the one who created it. You're the one who controls it. You're the one who feeds it. You're the one who makes it. Eventually it'll take on its own form. It takes a little work. And you just keep adding sticks. As long as the sticks all go in the same direction. Don't worry about the bark catching on fire because the bark is frozen wet. So it absorbed all the rain, protecting the tree from the elements. So what we're doing is adding sticks. We just constantly add tinder and keep blowing on it. Remember, it's sub-zero temperatures out here, so giving up is not an option. Likewise, in real life, life itself doesn't care. It wants you to survive. It's going to be tough, no matter what you do. Just keep fanning the coals of your dreams, and your fire will come real. Ow! And it bites you a little bit too. Now we keep building it up. These little needles work good. So we just keep working at it. Main thing is have your resources and materials gathered. It'll take you about an hour between digging out a spot, gathering your wood, and making your fire start. The whole project between settling on your spot and settling down for the night, it's about 3 hours of time. As you see, your fire is finally taking off. It's coming a life of its own. So we'll just feed it, but never giving it too much weight, just enough that it can handle. It's kind of like what life does to us. It gives us just enough stuff to handle, to keep us fueled, to live, but never enough, not for too much pressure. And if you get too much pressure, shake it off. Speaking about shaking, earlier we saw me shaking the trees to keep the snow off. How that would relate to life is sometimes you got to shake the trees of life and the powers and authorities above you in order to create your path. Without doing so, I can get a nice fire going, and next thing you know, the authorities come along and put my fire out. Now if it isn't a strong enough fire, it won't come back. But fire is kind of like a child. We breathe life into it. We nurse it. We give it task. We allow it to grow. We control it. We give it direction. And we allow it to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So in turn to keep us, fire to keep us warmer. Your children will better your future. Those sticks are actually too big. Too much weight. So all we do is we keep adding sticks and challenging our fire. Now we got a nice bed of coals underneath. And you just keep working at it. Making a good fire to keep you alive in the woods. It's actual work. It's not something that just happens. You see a lot on other films and stuff, people just with a bow drill, next thing you know, there's always fire. There's a lot of preparation that went into that beforehand. Here, we're just using our fingers, cracking the branches, and showing you that you can create a good fire without a lot of tools, without a lot of force, without a lot of power. And that's the myth a lot of people have had to overcome is, excuse me, it takes all this power and force to create what you want, when all it really is building blocks. We started out with little twigs like this, little tiny twigs. I don't know if you see that. And now we're using sticks this size. That's the real keys to life, is building a good foundation, a good fire, hot coals, and letting it build up. And if they get dampened, put the heat right back to them. Let it take hold. And sometimes it takes a little bit of direction and heat. You can really get her going. Now, we can put it right down our pit. And don't worry about your fire burning you. Too many people worry about, oh, the fire is going to burn me, and they stay back away from it, and they're trying to toss sticks into it like, ah. You'll kill yourself by your own fear of fire. Put your hands right into the fire. Feel it. Know that you control it. Take control of your life. Take control of your fire and desire. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear rule your life or what you should be doing. Green branches burn differently than brown ones, but they all burn pretty well. If you see the fire, it goes up and down. It's like the enthusiasm of life itself goes up and down. But here we're going to just tie some green evergreens onto it, make a little smudge. We're going to add bigger sticks now. I feel more confident. We got a nice, real good set of coals here. We have a tree over here. Nice big stick. Put it against your knee. Smash it up. Give your fire a test. See if they can handle it. Just put one on. Put one to the side. Go back, gather more small sticks. We should always test ourselves, test our lives, test the fire that burns inside of us. Alrighty, this is my little heat gauge thing here. I'm going to put you right here. Give my fire a little boost. Kind of like encouragement and motivation. When we give people encouragement and motivation, we light their fires inside them. The same way as when we breathe on fire. It's giving of encouragement and motivation. Now I'm going to put the other stick on top of it. See, my coals are really going good. We have another bigger stick, which I'm really tempted to put in here. But I'm going to hold off for a bit. Patience is the key to a good fire. Oh, there's all kinds of sticks here. It's a wonderful spot that I picked. And how did I easily find a spot like this in the woods? Because I've learned how to read nature. And that reading of nature accelerates your ability to success. If you walk in, see, it's like, let's take a story here. A lot of people, they call themselves outdoors enthusiasts, and they go out into the woods, and they're like, oh, look at the rocks, look at the trees, look at the pretty scenery. I guess I say I'm not an outdoors enthusiast because I read the nature. I know how to utilize it for my benefit and how to create a better outcome for my future from that reading. When I come into the same area, or someone who knows how to read nature comes into the same area, instead of saying, look at the rocks, they say, look at these types of rocks and the way they're laid out. This tells me we're at this kind of level or this kind of territory, this type of soil. Therefore, I should find these type of minerals, which would alert me to that there has to be a spring or a water well near here, just by the shapes of the rocks and the types of rocks. Plus, depending on the size of the rocks, I can determine what kind of wildlife is running around amongst them, and I can create traps and feed myself. Looking at the trees, I can tell you what elevation I'm at. Reading the trees, right here we're amongst the spruces and evergreens. It's kind of a swampy area. I picked it because I knew it would be warmer. By reading my territory, knowing that evergreens growing close together and we shield the wind, swampy area, a little warmer here than it is out in the field, will help keep me alive. The availability of tinder is a wonderful thing. So by reading my environment and knowing my trees, knowing the rocks, I get a good understanding of what's going on around me, how to utilize it, and how to make the best of it. Now, some people are good that way in the city. Some people are good that way at jobs. Salesmen who are really good at sales understand how to read people and now see, I'm going to take this stick and I give the fire some actual work. So again, let's put it on the back side. See, the thing is we got to get out of the ego. The ego will tell you that you need a chainsaw, an axe, or some kind of sawing material to create a fire to keep you alive. When in actuality, all you need is ingenuity, self-strength, and a little power, and a bit of refusal to let nature bother you. And that refusal is the same as keeping your emotions in check, so people don't get under your skin. Now you see we're putting these larger sticks on our fire. We're really getting the fire going here. We just now I put the bigger sticks in the back of the fire, mainly because there's moisture on this bark on the exterior. So what happens by putting it on the back of the fire, it dries that moisture out, but it also reflects heat back this way. So as we're drying out the wood, it's reflecting the heat back to us. I'm not really worried about this tree catching on fire because it's pretty much dead. We'll use that later. Use my stick. So the whole ego thing I was getting on earlier is, you know, these people think, oh, you gotta have big machinery to make big fire, and you gotta have this, you gotta have that, gotta. There's only 3 things you need in the world: faith, love, and hope. Really, it's really all you need. It's just like I said in the Bible. You will understand that when you're in a situation like this. Matches help. If I didn't have matches, we'd make a bow drill, and it says it's 39 degrees. Sitting right here. So all this equipment that people bring out into the woods, it's really not necessary. You have your hands, you have your ingenuity, you have a brain. Read your environment, understand what it all means. You get used to the language of it. It takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. And gather the information, assess it without ego, and then move forth, bettering your life. Now my little fire here, like I said earlier, is a lot like my child. I've nursed it, I've raised it, I've challenged it. It's grew forth. It's pretty much going on its own now. All I have to do is keep feeding motivation and energy into it. You know, continue to grow. So, the lessons here is learn to read, gather your information, prepare yourself before you start. You get caught in a bad situation, prepare your information before you use it, gather your strength, start your fire going of your dream, create it. Shake the trees of authority around you. Make sure you clear your path if you have to. Get yourself your fire, breathe it. Give life to it, feed it, challenge it. Challenge yourself, challenge your dreams. And breathe more into your fire. Create your coals that won't go out. We got, woo! Stuff like this, you notice the fire's coming right back. You're going to get challenged in life by authorities above you and around you, your peer pressures. Breathe fire back into your desires and dreams. Accomplish what you've set out to do. Do not let the disturbing authorities, pressures, and rules destroy your dreams. Enjoy your fire. Enjoy the heat. Enjoy your life. Alright, let's see what my meter has to say how temperature it is here. It's 54 degrees. Let's see, that's Fahrenheit. Nope. That's Fahrenheit. That's 12 degrees Celsius. You can see that. 12 degrees Celsius. So it was negative 11 out there, and 12. So temperature has warmed up quite a bit since we were out in the field.